Hello, everybody. Jake, your resident content cowboy here. Yeehaw. We're taking a look at Wisdom of Sea and Sky. This is the too early tier list, and later in the season, we're going to decide what I got right, what I got wrong. I've played a lot of this pack so far, so I think I have a pretty good feel of where every card sits. I'm going to go over most of the relevant cards. You'll see them right up here as we're talking about them, and maybe a few cards that aren't super relevant. There are going to be some things I leave out because there are, a few hundred cards in the set, and not a lot of them are that important. We take a look at our tiers here. We've got our God tier where we only put one card. We're not friggin' Norse around here. We've got our S tier. These cards are probably the most meta shaking cards. Our A tier, really solid stuff that could have a good future in front of it. B tier, still got the B tier. These cards are fine. They might see some use. C tier and B tier are kind of similar. B tier, I feel like, is just a little better than C, and you might see it. The C tier is probably you will not see these cards. And then we have the D tier, our Delmise tier. These cards I think are just terrible. They shouldn't be, but they are. We have our Looker tier, a tier dedicated to one of the worst cards ever printed. And then we have our Pack Filler tier. This is a tier for cards that I think are just put in there to fill out the pack and give us more cards. Let's start here. I have Meganium up for us right now. Meganium Stage 2. Obviously, we don't have Meganium, Typhlosion, or Feraligatr EX. It's sad but true. Hopefully, in the next mini set, we get something. Hopefully for Alligator, because water is struggling right now. Meganium, 150 HP, 3 energy to do 80 damage and heal each of your Pokemon. This is bad. I don't think it's pack filler bad, but it's pretty bad and useless. I would say it's probably closer to C tier than anything. It's not unplayable, right? Meganium's not unplayable, but to be a stage 2 for 3 energy, honestly, maybe it is unplayable now that I read it more. Because I was about to say it's not unplayable, but honestly, for 3 energy on a stage 2, that's really rough, man. To only do 80 damage, yeah, I'm sorry. I think they kind of did Meganium dirty. They've done a lot of these starters dirty when they're not the EXs, right? Let's move on to our next card here that I want to talk about, which is Jumpluff from the grass type here. Jumpluff is actually kind of interesting. It is a stage 2. However, it only requires 1 energy. And when you have this Pokemon out, your active Pokemon has no retreat costs. This is probably not super meta, but it actually can create some interesting situations. And for that reason, I'm going to put it into our C tier right here. Maybe even a little higher. I mean, you could see a Torterra play with something like this, right? In like a super dumb way. But I do think this is probably not that useful. The biggest problem is to fill your deck up with a stage 2 and its best quality is that you can retreat with it is probably not great. I would say it's a little better than absolutely awful. Which is our D tier here. Moving on to Cherubi. Cherubi is interesting because this Pokemon, if a tool is attached, it requires no energy to attack, which is cool, and it can hit with Sweets Relay. Sweets Relay is not great, but when you're just starting to build your cards, like, it's not the absolute worst thing ever. It's kind of an okay deck for someone just starting. You can sneak some wins with it. It's not meta, like, it's not like the top 5 decks or anything, but it's okay. I would put this in the C tier. C tier is like, it's not gonna set the world on fire, but it's actually not the worst thing ever, right? Heracross is the next card I wanted to talk about. 2 grass energy, and you are able to attack for 40 damage. However, if you have no damage on you, it does 40 more. This isn't the worst card I've ever seen. It's a little tough to be in the active spot and to have no damage on you, but it could happen. 80 isn't bad, but you gotta think, like, if you had Farfetch'd in the active spot for a single energy, you would have done 40, and if it stays around, you do another 40. This is probably D tier, maybe C tier. I feel like they keep doing Heracross dirty. We've, like, not gotten a good Heracross card. Moving on, we're gonna head into our fire type cards. I want to talk about Ninetales. The real cool thing about this card is you could pivot it into a Blaine deck. You don't really see Blaine decks at all. But for a little while it was a thing. With Blaine, you could do some serious damage with this card and maybe surprise your opponents. I'll put it C, but I think that's maybe a little generous. It could be, I mean, some of these are closer to pack filler, perhaps. I mean, maybe Meganium is even closer to pack filler. I honestly pulled a lot of the cards out that I thought were just straight pack filler. Moving on to our next card, we have, oops, I screwed up my tier list. Hold on. Did I fix it? I kind of fixed it, yeah. Moving on to our next card here, we've got Typhlosion. Typhlosion, I think, is actually pretty good. I'm going to put it B tier. It might even be higher than no, B is probably fair. It is a stage 2, which means you need to spend some energy to build it, but it burns the active spot every single turn. There are a few fun decks that you could put this into. I think Typhlosion is definitely the best of the Johto starters that they threw into this, right? So I'm going to put Typhlosion into our B tier right here. The ability, it's kind of like Greninja, right? It's kind of like a Crobat Arceus situation. The ability to constantly apply burn to that active spot is actually pretty solid. I like it, and there's some fun decks you can build with it already. Let's see. Moving on, our next card here is Magcargo. I mean, there should be a whole tier for things like this. I guess it's kind of in the Sweets Relay tier. It's cheesy wins. That's what this is. I'm gonna put it in our C tier. Yes, you can win with it. We were winning with it on stream. We almost hit Master with it. We had to stop. I was like, we can't hit Master with this deck. It can cheese out some wins. Spurt Fire gives you the ability to hit 3 times for 50 damage, and it cannot hit Magcargo. So as long as this is the only Pokemon in that active spot on your, or excuse me, on the board at all, on your side, you're dealing some damage. You can make some really hilarious plays with this. It's pretty troll, but it's honestly better than some of this other stuff that's in the pack. That's just how it goes sometimes with some of these somewhat trolly cards. Next, we're going to take a look at Entei. 4 energy to do 110. I feel like you could squeeze this into a few decks, but honestly, I don't feel like any of the elemental beasts, dogs, whatever you want to call them, are great. This is maybe C, maybe. That's honestly pretty high. It might be D. It just doesn't seem like it's very relevant, and maybe next pack we're gonna see all 3 of them as EXs, and we'll get why they kind of, you know, didn't produce a really cool card here. We're gonna move on to water. We'll take a look at Politoed. Oh no, I have Heatmore, sorry. I have Heatmore still that I wanted to talk about. Roasting Heat, 30 damage, but if they're burned, it does 60. This is a very specific setup. I'm going to put it into our D tier, but I don't think it's fully pack filler. I think it's like, it's okay. If you're playing a deck with Typhlosion, you know, or maybe a few other things that can burn, there are some situations you could clean up with this. And it's a basic. One of its biggest problems is it's 2 retreat cost. So if it's the basic you pull, you're just sitting there like not having a fun time. But I don't think it's like unplayable. I just think it's pretty weak, right? Politoed. Politoed is cool. Its ability, Lordly Cheering. If the Pokemon is on your bench, attacks used by your Pokemon that evolve from Poliwhirl do plus 40. This feels like a card that is set up for the future, right? Right now, it's D tier, I would say. You're letting another Politoed or Poliwrath do some damage. Right now, I think it's bad. However, if there is a Poly EX, right, in the future, you could see some really cool plays with this. So right now, I think pretty underwhelming, but in the future, maybe sets up a really cool deck. Next, I want to talk about Gyarados, and we will get to the EX Pokemon. I'm saving the EX Pokemon here for after we kind of get through some of these cards. Gary, I like the idea behind this. I think the deck is super cheesy. I've played a couple versions of it. I kind of think it's bad, actually. It just requires too many things. It's just too many things have to go right. Water is just not having fun right now. It's not pack filler bad. There's like kind of a strategy around it. It's kind of fun to try, but I don't think it's very good, unfortunately. The idea behind it, by the way, is you discard water Pokemon on your bench to do more damage. So you can kind of gauge how much you need to discard for how much damage you'd like to do. Couple cool situations can arise from it, but in general, I think it's pretty bad. Next, we have a Feraligatr. 3 damage to do 90, and then you discard a random energy. Honestly, terrible. Just terrible. It's maybe the worst one. I don't know. Maybe Meganium should be down here, too. These are just terrible cards. 3 energy to do 90 on a stage 2. But It's so bad, guys. I'm sorry. They're just like they're so mean to these cards. Azumarill, 3 energy to do 60, and thick fat allows you to take less damage. This is also pack filler nonsense. It's just terrible. You don't know what you're going to be running into, and 60 damage for 3 is awful. It's just a terrible card. So bad. They've done some of these cards so dirty. Quillfish is fine, like kind of bad, but not pack filler bad. It's poison for a single energy, 80 damage, 80 HP. You can use it a little bit as a wall. It's like D tier, but not pack filler tier. For whatever that's worth. Corsola actually seems like okay for water decks, right? Find a Friend is a pretty good ability. It's colorless. You could put it in a few different decks because of that. 1 energy retreat cost with 80 HP. It's probably not super usable, but it's not pack filler, right? Octillery seems bad to me. Octillery is our next one here. 2 energy to do 50 damage, and the defending Pokemon flips a coin if they try to attack. It's just too many things going on. It's too much. It's not unplayable, but it's like, it's getting there. It's just a lot. The meta is just too fast. Too many good things to play a card like that, I feel like. Suicune, 3 energy. Attacks from the defending Pokemon do -20. I'm going to put it D. The only possible use I could see is you throw it into a deck and it allows you to crack Oricorio, or if you have a really low cost water deck, like you're playing Crabominable or something, this gives you a non-EX that can take out Ori, can deal with some threats. In general, it's very bad. I would say all the dogs are very bad. Okay, moving on to, what was our next one? Crawdaunt, right? Moving on to Crawdaunt. At least Crawdaunt, its damage is terrible. Its HP is awful. Its retreat cost makes it so frustrating. However, it's trolly and funny. Once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve, you can discard a random energy. It's bad, but at least it does something. I don't know. It's like, it's bad. It's kind of pack filler, but it's not the absolute worst thing ever. Next, I want to take a look at Swanna. I actually think Swanna is a Pokemon that maybe could do something. Maybe. Moving all your energy after you attack is solid, then it has a free retreat. The only problem is it's only 80 HP for a stage 1. So this is probably bad, but it's not pack filler bad, especially because of its retreat cost, I think. You could set up a specific scenario where you're like, I didn't hate that I used that. And that's about as good as we can hope for with some of these cards. Ampharos. I'm glad that one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, Ampharos, I'm glad it's not fully awful. It's actually okay. Yes, it's a stage 2. It does 80, but it could do 120. The damage to itself isn't great. The 150 HP is fine. I'm going to put this in the C tier. I think this could be okay. Also, if you happen to be building a really fast lightning deck and you just have this as something that you're building on your bench, right? It can deal with like an Oricorio that stops EX Pokemon. And if you play Will in the deck, it's a guaranteed 120. So I get it's not the worst card in the set. There are a lot of bad cards in the set. It's not the worst card in the set. Raikou is probably the only elemental beast legendary dog that is okay. 70 damage for 2 energy is pretty good on a basic, 1 retreat cost. It's not incredible, but it's probably the only one that's kind of okay. I have to put Entei back down here. I have to put it in D. It's probably the only one that I think is okay. You could see this in lightning decks. It's a good answer to like multiple meta threats. So that one's probably your best one of the entire set for these lightning, or for these elemental ones. Emolga is one of those cards that I feel like is built for the future a little bit. It's 1 energy for 40 damage, which is, you know, we have other Pokemon that do this, but the 10 damage to one of your benched Pokemon is actually feels like a setup card. So hopefully we have something that wants damage, kind of like Primeape, right? If it has any damage on it, it does more, and then you power that with Emolga, you could create some really cool plays. I'm going to still put it D for now, right? But in the future, this could be a cool card. So I want to see what they do with it. Moving on to some of our psychic types here. We're going to start with Togekiss. 3 energy for 70 is bad, but Celestial Blessing is good, right? Any damage done to this Pokemon, they have to flip a coin. Any like direct damage, right? It has to be an attack. Flip a coin. If heads, prevents the damage entirely. Plus, this can pair with Cynthia. I think this is probably C, maybe even B. Honestly, like there actually could be some cool decks with this. Let's move to Xatu. Xatu is super cheesy, but it's actually one of the better cheesy ones. I'm going to put it in the C tier as well. C tier, like, maybe I just need to call this the cheese tier. Not everything here is cheesy, but you can cheese out some dumb wins with this. We were playing it on stream yesterday. I actually had some good games with, like, Typhlosion, Xatu. So it's not awful. Flip a coin. Your opponent's active Pokemon's HP is 10. We took a Charizard with 200 HP down to 10. I mean, that's pretty dang solid. It is a frustrating setup at times. It's not super meta by any means, but it's a deck that actually can play, where some of this stuff you just can't even use at all. Next, I want to talk about Unknown. I have both of our Unknowns here. These are cards that I think are possibly very good, slotted into certain decks, and I think we haven't seen the full potential of these yet. So Unknown with Guard, and then Unknown with Power. You have to have both Unknowns out there, but again, it says other than Power or other than Guard, meaning we can see more of these in the future, right? Attacks used by your Pokemon do plus 10 damage, and then with Guard, you take minus 10. I think this is dumber than it is good, but I'm gonna put it in our cheese tier right here because I think there is something that you could make with this. Musharn is an interesting one. I wanted to talk about that just briefly because 60 damage for 2 energy isn't the worst ever. It's not great either, but both active Pokemon being asleep means that you can make some kind of funny, annoying plays. And if you pair this with something like Comfey, you don't put yourself to sleep. This is probably bad, but not pack filler bad. So I'm going to put it in our D tier. Next, I want to talk about... we're skipping over fighting. Was there anything I want to talk about in fighting? Not really, honestly. Oh, there is one I want to talk about in fighting. Hold on. I forgot to bring it up here. I wanted to talk about Hitmontop. Hitmontop is actually pretty dang good. I mean, I should have assumed that Hitmontop had some viability, right? Hitmontop is just fighting's version of Pheromosa, and you pair this with Lucario, it starts to do even more than Pheromosa. This card is good. I like this card. I think I like it a lot. I'm putting it up here with Typhlosion. Like, these are pretty good cards, and maybe I'm even underrating it a little bit. I think Hitmontop is pretty dang good. I forgot to pull this one up when I wanted to talk about fighting cards. The rest of fighting, I think, is pretty bad in this set, outside of the Baby, which we'll talk about here in a moment, and the EX. We're going to move on to our Dark type. We've got Weavile. So Weavile is kind of cool because it has no retreat cost. 50 damage for a single energy. No retreat. Isn't the worst thing in the world. I'm going to put it down here into our D tier. So it's not pack filler bad. And it could be even paired with maybe something like Tyranitar, right? You could attack with this, retreat for free, power Tyranitar. So I'm going to put it here in D. In that it's not pack filler, and maybe you could do something with it, right? Next, we're going to talk about... Where are you, buddy? Tyranitar. 160 HP, pretty dang solid. Energy Plunder is a great ability, and 130 damage. This is maybe not as great as I would like it to be. I'm going to put it in our C tier right here. I still need to figure out a really good deck with it. But I think it has potential, right? We might need a way to generate more dark energy before this becomes really good. But the ability to just take all energy generated and move it to this Pokemon for free means that you can set up some cool plays with it. And I'm going to put it in our C tier for that reason, right? Let's see. What do we have next on our list? We're going to move on to our steel, our metal. Steelix. I'm going to also move Steelix to our C tier. The thing about Steelix is you can generate energy for it with Brock on Onyx, right? 110 damage isn't the worst. It's not amazing, but you get some of that energy for free. And then this pairs with multiple new trainer cards that were added to this set. So I'm going to cautiously say that you could make some okay decks with it and put it here into our C tier. Scizor is, I think, okay. You've got to have a specific deck for it as well. I'm going to move it also to our C tier. I think there's definitely something that can be done with a Pokemon where you're moving it to the active spot to do 100 damage. The only problem with something like this is, I mean, just think of something like Silvally, right? Silvally can sit in the active spot, you play a supporter, you do 100 damage. So you get the added benefit of playing supporters and you do 100 damage. This Pokemon must be moved in, then it does 100. It does pair well with the new Steel Apron. I think maybe this is closer to D, but I also kind of just love this Pokemon, so I want to try to make something with it work, right? Okay, we are moving to the Kling Clang. Kling Clang is bad, but not pack filler bad. 3 damage, 3 energy for 70 is awful on a stage 2, but 3 energy for 140 is pretty good. So if you can keep this around for a single turn, you could actually do some damage. It's probably D tier, just because it's such a high energy requirement and you have to get a stage 2. I don't know how many decks you would put it in, but I want to try it. I definitely want to try it. So it doesn't feel like it's fully pack filler. I want to play around with it a bit. Blissey is interesting. Blissey is 3 energy and 20 more damage for each energy attached, right? So it's 20 plus the 3 attached to it. And this can go up in some absurd ways. I could imagine you powering this. You know, you could power this with Ho-Oh and do some funny things with it. You could power this with, Dialga and do some funny things. There are a few ways to get some energy on this. You could power this with babies, and all the babies are throwing energy back to like Blissey or a Blissey EX that you have set up. It's probably bad, but I do want to try it out. It doesn't feel pack filler bad. Kangaskhan is actually a pretty interesting card to me. This is 100 HP. The retreat cost is absurd, but this is probably your wall, right? You put 1 energy on it, you chip for 20, or if they happen to be an evolution, you chip for 60. Early in Pocket, this would have probably been a really good card, right? When we just had these walls that sat there for a while. Now it's probably bad, but maybe not pack filler bad. It's okay. I think a lot of this set is underwhelming. Like a lot of the basic stuff is underwhelming pack filler. Eevee, on the other hand, Find a Friend Eevee, I think is extremely good. This is just the collect Eevee, but even better, right? This guarantees you are pulling Pokemon from your deck into your hand, thinning your deck out, and you're pairing it with all the Eevees in the game. This is a really, really good Eevee. It's probably the best Eevee. You could use the other Eevee if there's something specific you're looking for in your deck that is not a Pokemon. But this one just guarantees that you're pulling a lot of the things you need to start building your decks, right? Or start building your hands and your board. Porygon 2 and Porygon Z, I'll kind of talk about them together. Porygon 2, when you attach energy to this, you automatically evolve into Porygon Z or possibly a Porygon Z EX in the future. This card is good. I don't think Porygon's amazing. Porygon in general is cheese, but this is an extremely good card. Being able to put a single energy on a card and you guarantee to pull an Evo from your deck and evolve. And if you're using Porygon Z, the new one, it costs 2 to attack. The synergy is clearly right there. It's not, these aren't perfect cards by any means, but Porygon 2, I would say, is probably B tier. It just doesn't have a perfect follow-up. I would say Porygon Z is closer to our C tier, like cheesy tier. But you can definitely pull some wins out with it. But Porygon 2 is like, that's a very good card. In the future, this could be kind of like a Magneton, or excuse me, Magneton, right? Where you go, well, in this set, it's not amazing, but what it does for the future is extremely good. Let's see. We're moving on to another card I wanted to talk about was Stantler. Stantler's actually okay. The real reason this is okay, if you play a deck with tools in it and you have an extra tool that you don't mind throwing on a Pokemon like this, for 2 energy, as a basic and a 1 retreat cost, this will KO Oricorio, right? It's a great answer for Oricorio in decks that don't have a good way to throw it in and decks that want to play tools. it's probably like a C tier card for me. And I actually think you might see some decks slotted in. 2 energy is tough, right? 2 energy is always tough, but it's one of those cards that feels like it's a jack of all trades for dealing with annoying cards that want to stop your EX Pokemon. Now that we've gone through almost all of our cards, we're about to talk about our trainer cards, then EX. I want to talk about Smeargle for just a second here. This is a funny idea. Splatter coating. Change the type of a random energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon to one of the following at random. Funny, probably bad, going in our C tier, our cheese tier. I just think I want to make a deck with it. It's probably dumb, but the times it works are going to be hilarious. And I think, look, for me, there's some value in that. I'm not saying it's a meta card. I'm saying it's a hilarious card. Let's move on to our trainers here. Elemental Switch, a new item card allowing you to move fire, water, or lightning energy to an active Pokemon from your bench. This is probably an S tier card. It's up there. In decks that can use it, this card is essentially a Dawn without using a supporter. It's kind of busted. Elemental Switch is one of the better cards released in the entire set. I don't know if it's our God tier card. I've kind of been mulling it over back and forth what I think our God tier card might be. But Elemental Switch is extremely good. Moving on to Squirt Bottle. Discard a fire energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. This card is so troll, it's hilarious. You can't really run it because you don't know what you're running into. This is fully hilarious, though. I'll put it in our D tier. If there's a ton of fire in the meta, you could run it. You also could run it just to be a funny jerk. It's probably too bad to ever really consider, but there you go. You could have some funny situations. Like Stoke Char. If someone squirt bottles a Stoke Char, I'd probably laugh for 10 minutes straight. Moving on to our next card, we have Steel Apron, a new Pokemon tool that I feel like is extremely good. It can only be attached to metal Pokemon, but, well, that's not true. It can be attached to everything, but it works with metal Pokemon. Metal Pokemon take -10 damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon, recovers from all special conditions, and cannot be affected by special conditions. This is a really good tool. I think this is like either high B or A tier. For metal decks, it's probably necessary. You maybe don't run it in Solgaleo. Maybe. I mean, it wouldn't be awful to stop it from getting poisoned or burned or something like that. The only problem with Steel Apron is status conditions aren't super the norm right now. There are more and more of them landed. We have Lantern, we have Crobat, we have Burns. Like, they keep adding more of them, but they also keep adding ways to deal with them. So I think you see less and less decks like that. But I think this is a really solid new addition to the game. Probably B tier, but pretty solid. Dark Pendant, I think is so good. I love Dark Pendant. I'm putting it in the A tier. I'm probably overvaluing this card, but it's so damn annoying. Like, holy. If you attach it to a dark Pokemon and you're in the active spot, when they attack you, they reveal a card from their hand and shuffle it back into their deck. I have seen so many clutch cards shown to me and thrown back into their deck. It is hilarious. I love Dark Pendant. I think I like this more than it is good, but man, I like this card. I just like it so much. It's so fun, dude. Next, we have the Rescue Scarf. If the Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out by damage from an attack, so it has to be that. That's always like a tricky thing, right? Put it back into your hand instead of the discard pile. This feels extremely situational. And I don't think we have something in the meta that really takes great advantage of it yet. There are a couple things that work well with this. I think this is maybe lower than C tier, but on a certain Pokemon, in a certain situation, it's pretty good. But I think it's probably closer to C. Moving on to our supporters, we have Will. Will is a card that will provide value maybe forever. In a few decks, it's really good, and then most of the time, it's not so good. So a few things that spring to mind. Tinkaton, obviously, you're swinging for 160 guaranteed. Alolan Executor, you guarantee 150. Even with Executor EX, like the genetic Apex one, you're guaranteeing 80 damage every time you swing. I think this card will continue to provide value as the game goes on and always be a funny, pretty good card. I don't think there are enough situations where Will is necessary to be higher than a B tier card right now. But I do think it's pretty dang good. It's a pretty dang good card and a really fun addition to the game. Next, we have Lyra. Lyra's good. Switch an active Pokemon with damage to a bench Pokemon. I think Lyra's pretty good. Yeah, Lyra's one of the better supporter cards in the set. I'm going to put it into our A tier right here. You have to have a specific deck that works with this, but if you do, you're setting up free retreats, right? And there are decks that kind of bait your opponent to putting damage onto it and using Lyra to set up big plays. So this one I think is solid. It's going in my A tier for that reason. Silver is also a really solid card. Silver reveals your opponent's hand, chooses a supporter, shuffles it into your opponent's deck. I think it's one of the most splashable supporter cards we've ever had. You can kind of put this in any deck and get value out of it. I think I'm overvaluing Silver, but I'm going to put it up into our S tier. I will say, as I'm going through this set, there isn't a lot of this set that I feel like is completely meta shaping, which is an interesting look for a new set, right? But I think Silver is maybe the best supporter card in the set. It gives you tons of information and it disrupts your opponent's hand and disrupts their draw, right? Because they might just draw that card right back. I think it's pretty dang solid. Yeah. Sometimes I've gotten so, like, you get into a position where you look at their hand and you go, oh, they're actually at least a turn away from rare candying, fill in the blank, right? I can make a play knowing that, and I get to stop something they're doing. Just hand scope by itself is probably not enough, right? Because while it gives you good information, it doesn't let you do anything outside of that. I think Silver is, for that reason, one of the better supporter cards in the set. Just not only giving you info, but allowing you to do something with it. Fisher. Fisher is cheese. It's specifically for a cheese deck. I'll put it in the cheese tier for that reason. It's probably actually closer to D. I gotta be honest. It's just... You flip 3 coins, and for each heads, a water Pokemon at random is taken from your discard pile into your hand. It works with Gyarados, kind of. It works with Wishy-Washy EX and Wishy-Washy non-EX. It's bad, but fine. Bad, but fine. That's all I can say about it. It's bad. Jasmine, during your opponent's next turn, Steelix, Skarmory EXs, all of them, by the way, take minus 50 damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. So even if they Sabrina you and bring in another one, or Cyrus and bring in the other one, it's minus 50. Pretty dang solid. Pretty dang solid supporter. Again, it's very specific, but I'm putting it in our B tier. In the Skarmory EX or Steelix deck, it's an extremely good card. Extremely powerful, but crazy specific. Hiker is a card that is actually also very specific, but not as bad as some of the others. I'm going to put it in our C tier. Hiker allows you to look at as many cards as you have fighting Pokemon in play. So if you have a full board, you can look at the next 4 cards coming, and you can arrange them in any order. This actually sets up a few interesting plays, because let's say you look at the next 4 cards coming, right? And it's not a good draw for you. Like, this is not what you need. All 4 of them, like maybe one of them's good, maybe none of them are that great. If you have a card in there that shuffles your deck, you get that first, you shuffle that up, so you're like, okay, at least I'm getting rid of these next 4 cards that are coming. But also you can plan ahead multiple turns, so you can go, all right, I've got my Donphan. I need my Donphan EX. Perfect. I'm going to put that one next. Or I desperately need to Sabrina them next turn. I have that coming in 2 cards. I'm going to put that next. Like, it actually can set up some pretty good plays. It's still a little too situational, but I think it can set up some pretty fun plays. I'm going to put it in our C tier. Maybe it's even closer to B. Maybe. It might be closer to B. All right, we've gotten through all of our supporter cards. I think it's time to talk about our EXs and our babies here. Let's start with babies. I think the baby cards are really good. They're actually the shocker of the set for me. I thought that would be good. I think they're really good. Tyrogue, able to do 20 damage for no energy attached. There's some really funny decks using this one. I think this is probably closer to maybe our A tier. I've seen people play this with Darkrai and stuff like that, like you're attaching the energy for Nightmare Aura and you're punching in the active spot, and they have free retreat cost, and they have no weaknesses. Babies are pretty dang good. I'm going to put this one in our A tier. Next, we are going to take a look at, what do I got next? Let's take a look at Smoochum. Smoochum is probably the worst baby. I think maybe the word, I don't know. It's up there. The problem with this is babies feel like they get insane value from being used early. This card wants you to get value kind of being used later. And for that reason, I think this is probably our worst baby. Maybe it's C, maybe even lower, maybe it's D tier. Like, it just doesn't do enough, right? Like, the other ones do so much early on, which is kind of when you need a card like them. Cleffa, Twinkly Call, put a random Pokemon from your deck into your hand. Incredibly good. Very, very good. I'd say this is probably an S tier baby. A lot of the babies, I think, are S tier. If I'm like, just like full disclosure, you're gonna see me put a lot of these cards very high. Elekid, 20 damage to a benched Pokemon. I think this is probably worse than Tyrogue. It might be C, it might be D. It might be right here with Smoochum. That's probably fair. I don't think it's as bad as Smoochum necessarily, but you could make plays with it. You could make plays with it, for sure. It's not one of the best babies, but the babies are all just such cute little guys. Pichu, Crackly Toss, Lightning Energy for free to a bench Pokemon. That is S tier in my opinion. Unbelievably good. Like, these are meta changing cards. I didn't expect it would be the babies, but it is the babies. Magby, able to take fire energy from your energy zone attached to a bench Pokemon. Also the ability to, like, these cards are great. The babies are great. If you go turn 1, it's awesome getting energy on turn 1. If you go turn 2, it's awesome getting energy on turn 3. If you go turn 3, you're playing a different game, my friend. So I think these are really good. The babies are like some of the standout cards of the entire set. Now it's time to talk about our EX Pokemon. Where would we be without Shuckle EX? Well, we'd be in the exact same spot because Shuckle EX is not a super relevant card. Okay, day 1 playing Shuckle EX. Some of the worst games I've ever had to play in my life. Day 2 of playing Shuckle EX, we went on a win streak in Master Rank with it. I think because we played other better cards around it. This is... I'm not going to put it Looker tier, but it wants me to put it in Looker tier. It's D tier, maybe Looker tier. 120 HP, not great. Solid Shell, minus 20 from attacks, okay. Triple Slap, able to do 0 to 60 damage. It will do 0 to 60 damage. I feel like I'm talking like I'm in Fast and the Furious right now. We're going to play for slips with Shuckle EX. 1 energy, able to attack. It could do 60, it could do 0, and it has 1 retreat cost. I think the saving grace of this is it's 1 retreat cost, 1 energy to attack. It's not a huge investment. Every once in a while you can make plays with it. It's hilarious. I think you could improve one of 3 aspects of this card. Either its HP, its Solid Shell ability, or Triple Slap, and it would actually be pretty good. But I think they've kept it into a state where it's kind of bad. I think it's kind of bad. It's not as bad as I originally thought. Maybe I'm underrating it. I think it's kind of bad. It's pretty bad. Next we have Ho-Oh. This is one of the obviously pack stars, right? Ho-Oh is very good. 3 energy on it, which is a little bit of a setup, but with the babies, that's not as hard as it used to be. Same thing with the elemental switch, right? This allows you to do 80 damage, nothing to write home about. 150 HP is pretty good, and it generates 3 energy, which is very, 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 very good, and enables multiple setups. The only issue is you have to get it online. I'm going to put it in our A tier. I think it's one of the better EX in the set, and I think it could be relevant for a long time. As long as you have a way to generate a little extra energy for it, this card is not that bad, and it sets up lots of decks. So that's where we're going to put Ho-Oh. Next, we have Lantern EX. Lantern EX is an unfortunate EX card in that it's not awful, but it's also not great. The best I could say is Lantern is probably C tier. The thing about Lantern is 80 damage is not great for the 3 energy, kind of like Ho-Oh, but it doesn't do enough otherwise. It also requires it being a stage 1, so it's a little harder to get online. 150 HP, maybe if its HP was like 170, this would actually be a little better. One of the problems with this card is there are so many ways to negate what it does. Like, first off, Arceus, which is just relevant all the time, doesn't care about any of the status conditions. Second, you have the new Steel Apron. Status conditions don't matter. Some cards are just there for you to KO in that active spot. Status conditions don't matter. Confused is a very bad status condition in general. And even Paralyze has many ways for it to be cleansed with things like Lyra or Ilima to pull the card, or Solgaleo to just Rising Road and move into the active spot. I think Lantern has a lot of things going against it, which is why I'm putting it into our C tier. We made a fun deck with it the other day and actually had some pretty good results, but I think the best I can say about it is it's C tier. It's okay. Next, we have Kingdra. What can I say about water cards, man? Water does not like, this game does not like water. Like, they gave water really good cards early on, and now water is just kind of bad. 2 energy is not the worst thing ever. 90 damage on a stage 2 is rough. Yes, they can't retreat, but basically what Kingdra has to do, right? You need to spend a lot of energy to get it online, meaning by energy, I get that is confusing actually because there's energy in the game. You have to spend a lot of resources to get this online. You have to get a stage 1 to, a basic to a stage 2. So you're either using rare candy or you're evolving through Seadra. So it takes a long time to get this online. Then once you do, while you may be trapping the opposing Pokemon, which by the way, you're not necessarily trapping them because there are lots of ways to get out of that active spot, even if they can't retreat, right? Even if you are trapping them, you're not so unbelievably tanky that you also don't get 2-shot. So I think it requires so much to get online, and it just doesn't do enough damage. Like water Pokemon lately, they're not like Primarina does 100 damage for 3. This does a little better, 90 for 2. I honestly think this is even worse than Lantern. It's maybe slightly better than Shuckle, slightly. My early take on Kingdra is it's just not good, which is so sad because I pulled the full art Kingdra and it's some of the coolest art in the game. I'm going to keep working on it. I just don't think it does enough. And like, you want to put it with things like Greninja, right? You want to put it with something where you can like pull them into that active spot, but then you're like, now I got to get 2 stage 2s online. It's a lot. It's a lot. Okay. Moving on to our next EX. Wow. Our next EX I got to talk about. Holy, was I wrong about Espeon EX. I owe Espeon EX an apology. This card's great. Now, a lot of the reason this card's great is because EVs are freaking great, and you can so simply pair this with Sylveon. It's ludicrous. Espeon EX is fantastic. It is A or S in this set, again, because of what we also have in previous sets, which is relevant, right? It's relevant to the meta. I did not think I would be saying this about Espeon. Such a good EX card. The healing is really solid. The damage is, while the damage is not the best for 80, it goes in a good curve with Eevee being able to draw and then do the damage and then heal yourself or a benched Pokemon that you had to retreat. And again, the big thing is it pairs with another brutally powerful, overpowered psychic card, which is Sylveon, one of the best cards they've ever printed. So I think I think because of this combination here, I have to put it into our S tier. I'm probably rating it a little high, but this is like me thinking like, I don't think this card will be too relevant, and then being shocked with how good this is. Like, you want a win streak deck? Check out the Espeon Sylveon deck I shared the other day on the channel. So dang good. What's next? Donphan. Donphan, pretty good. Not amazing, broken, or anything like that. I'm going to put it into our B tier. I think Donphan is pretty good. 50 damage for 1 energy, 110 for 3. The nice thing about this is you're able to attack very quickly with it if you need to. 160 HP is pretty good for a stage 1. This requires no rare candy to make it work. And fighting is just, you know, they've got a lot of solid cards that attack for low energy, so you're able to pair this with all of them. Lucario is great with this, more damage. The new Hitmontop, I think, is fantastic. Rampardos is incredible. There are a lot of fighting decks that allow you to play something like this. I mean, I know that we're comparing like 2 different things here, but if you look at Donphan, for a single energy, you're doing 50. With 160 HP. Then you look at Shuckle, for a single energy, you're maybe doing 0 to 60, 120 HP. and it never gets any better. Donphan will continue to get better as you put more energy on it, or even if you can't, it could be a really good wall for you. You could play it with Lyra for retreat. I actually really like Donphan. I've been impressed with it. I think B tier is pretty fair. It's like one of the more decent EX cards in the set. Next, we're going to talk about Crobat. I love Crobat. I think Crobat's one of the standouts of the set as well. I'm going to put it in our S tier. That's probably too high, but for this set, I don't think it's too high. I don't think it's the S tier card in the entirety of the Pocket meta, but for this set, it's one of the best cards in the set, I think. Single energy to do 70, plus poison with 170 HP with a single retreat cost. Wow. So strong. It's just really strong. It's so fast, so strong. Yes, it requires rare candy, but boy, this thing is just so tanky and really, really hard to deal with. And because it only requires one energy, it lets you play a lot of different stuff. Umbreon EX is our next EX card. This one is fine. It's fine. I think it could get more value as it goes on. I actually have been a little underwhelmed with this. I'm going to put it B. It might be a little worse than B. The 80 damage is okay. The free Cyrus is not bad. I just haven't found a lot of great ways to set this up. Like, of course, your brain goes, well, let me put it with Greninja. You could make something like that happen. Like, you could do like Sylveon EX, Umbreon EX, Greninja. So you're like getting your Greninjas online, and then you're using Umbreon to move things around. But at the same time, it's just like awkward to have the 3 different energy types. So you're probably only running dark in that situation, right? So that you can actually get this online and do something. Then you're thinking, well, I need other dark things to help. So maybe I put in dark. I don't know. It hasn't blown me away. I was thinking we might have some more value out of this thing, but it hasn't completely blown me away. I'm going to put it B. I actually might be overvaluing it right now. Next, we've got Skarmory. Skarmory I'll also put into our B tier. Skarmory, I'm more confident that it's decent, right? It has kind of a specific deck setup, which is something like Skarmory. We could see it in more metal decks in the future. A basic that only requires 2 energy isn't the worst. 70 damage is not stellar, but this thing is it sustains for a long time, especially paired with Jasmine. You can have situations where your opponent would absolutely KO just about anything in the game, and Skarmory can tank the hit. It's, you know, it's good, not fantastic, is where I'd put Skarmory. Finally, we have Lugia. Lugia is weird. One of my favorite Pokemon, Lugia. I love Lugia. 3 energy for 180, great. But 3 specific energy for 180. You have to have a really specific deck to make this work right now, and for that reason, I am going to put it into our B tier. I do think it's good. I think Ho-Oh is much better. Like, Ho-Oh completely sets things up for Lugia and other cards. Lugia has a couple decks that are okay for it, and maybe in the future there'll be more and more, but it requires a lot, and to really have this card be a finisher for you, you kind of have to be able to set it up to attack twice. So you need things like Elemental Switch, energy on other Pokemon. If you have a Ho-Oh and Lugia, and your Ho-Oh can attack 2 times and power Lugia, you've probably won the game. Which is really cool. And 180 damage again is extremely solid. So now the question is, what is our God tier card of the set? And I do think there are a lot of different cards that I've been going back and forth on for being our God tier. And I'm going to give it, even though we're not friggin' Norse around here, I'm going to give it to the babies. I think the babies are the most meta-changing thing in the set, and I think we could continue to see them change the meta. When I think of a God tier card, I think of a card that, or in this case, cards that actually really shape the way the game is played. Like when we look at last set, Sylveon was clearly our God tier card. It is future-proof in a lot of ways too, unless they can shut down its ability to draw somehow. Babies, I think, could be used for a very, very, very long time to set up a ton of big plays. So they are my God tier cards. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you agreed with, disagreed with in the comments. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. I will see you all next time. We did it. Long one.